really about who isn't here, it's about who is here. I will tell you that we're doing our best. We've been meeting on Wednesday nights to attempt to get some organization. So when people walk in, they see a shining place and everything looking good, and getting noticed in the world, because right now Yari always points out that statistically no one knows we're here. And the thing that's really interesting is this is a teaching that really its time has come. Ernest Holmes said probably in the 50s or 60s, this is the faith of the next generation. Joseph Campbell, who wrote Power of the Myth, spoke of the churches of yesterday, meaning most of your traditional churches will become the museums of tomorrow, where you'll go and you'll view the sacred art and you'll listen to the music around Christmas time, and it's beautiful stuff. But they don't feed it's not the philosophy, the catechism, the dogma, the beliefs of those churches largely often are of separation, which would be of a God that would be where? Out there and elsewhere. So, and yet, as much as this teaching is timely, it's also a teaching that's tough. Timely and tough. This teaching is a teaching that causes people to stretch and to grow. Because what we teach, as beautiful as it is, I had a practitioner years ago, Mary Kurowitz, who said, Greg, the universe so loves you that it responds to your every single thought. It never misses a one. And it reflects back to you. Your consciousness is a reflection, your outer world is a reflection of what lives inside of you. So your consciousness is the thing we work with here. And if people don't like the outer world that they live in, and most people who are, maybe they haven't awakened yet, they're trying to fix things on the outer. They'll be involved in causes on the outer, and there's really nothing wrong with that. You go volunteer for the poor and walk for cancer and do everything that people do. And we've done plenty. I know some of you have done a lot. I've done a lot in my life. And some of us have been professional counselors. We've gone out there and tried to get people to shake them and wake them. And I'm here to tell you, some 50 years later, all the shaking and, I'm sure a few lights have been turned on with some of these people, right? So it's not that the effort has no value, but the work that we do in religious science is always done where?
In us.
Yeah, in mind. The peace that we're looking for can only be found in one place. And it may be good to be busy in the world, and I am, and you are, and we are, and all that. But if you're abandoning yourself in the process, you're missing out on the whole purpose of it. So somehow, some way, there's a need for us to be having integrity. Integrity, it's a beautiful word. Integrity is like simple things, right? Following through on your commitments. Doing what you say, and that means something. I was always raised to value that, and I do value that. It's probably one of the things I value the most highly in my life, is personal integrity. I never knew I was going to have it when I was a kid, but I guess it developed over time. I'm happy to say that I'm a person, generally, if I tell you I'm going to do something, you can take it to the bank. Really. It means a lot. And I'm a little bit disheartened sometimes in my day-to-day living where that set of values doesn't really mean much to anybody. So, from all of our teachings, who's that guy I heard speak one year? The Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. It was an interesting time he talked. He wrote a good book, but when I heard him in person, I really didn't understand much about what he was saying. But he stated that we exist as light, And light is the thing that's reflected in our world. Again, the law of mind, the law of correspondence. The outer world's a reflection of what lives inside. And like landmark education or Deepak Chopra, 4 agreements, the language is always different, but it means the same thing. There's the racket, there's the belief system, there's the stuff. Or in the 4 agreements, the smoke that gets in the way. Well, what's the smoke? Okay, so you exist as light. You were born as this beautiful baby, as Louise Hay would say, full of light, promise, and wonder, and that is what reflects until things start to come in, that you start to believe about yourself and about life and about the world and about men and women and everything else. And that would be the racket. That would be the stuff that, as a child you learn that stuff. It's called your entrainment. It's what you take on, and it becomes, and maybe it's passed on from your parents because they care and it's to keep you safe, but maybe it doesn't serve you when you're 25 or 35 years old. Not to trust these people or those people, or have a set belief about men, women, life, everything. Because it's very difficult for anyone to be truly in new moments when they have a lot of preconceived ideas. In fact, it's impossible to be in a new moment. If you study Krishnamurti, who's one of my favorite people in terms of teachers, he speaks of the veils that we have, perceptual veils. And if you've got a perceptual veil, for example, about this teaching or about me or about anybody in this room, you really can't be in a new moment with them because you already have stuff that belongs to who? Yeah, it really never has anything to do about the other person. That's one of the great lessons from the Course in Miracles. In truth, there's nothing outside of you. My generation would say, you're tripping. So Judith, you're upset, I say, you're tripping about something. Or, Jeannie, you're tripping too. And I trip, we all trip. Okay, so when you find that you're tripping about any person, place, anything, any fact of your life, what would a good religious scientist do? Stop in the name of love, says Diana Ross, right? Because before you do what?
Before you breathe.
Well, truly, because you're only doing it to who? Yeah, and so this is such a simple message, Louise Hay would say. It's really always about learning to love who?
Me.
Yeah, and stop your tripping. Day tripper, you're tripping. Yari would say you're looping, tripping, looping. What's the difference? You're in a darn what?
Story.
You're in a story. You can't see the grace of God or the good of God because you're not present. Sad when that happens, right? Sometimes it's really sad. Of course, I've diverted from the whole talk as I always do, but it's okay. My printer is not working. I can't read it anyway, so. Here's something from the Course in Miracles that amplifies that thought, which I've been reading for at least 25 years. You respond always to what you perceive. And as you perceive, so shall you behave. Everything you perceive is a witness to the thought system you want to be true. What you are perceiving in others, you are strengthening in yourself. Perception is always a choice, and it's not a fact. But on this choice depends far more than you may realize as of yet. For on the voice you choose to hear, Spirit, God, or whatever you want, for on the voice that you choose to hear and on the sights you choose to see, depends entirely your whole belief in what you are. Instruction. Come to our classes. Instruction in preparation is your only need. It's your great need. Why? Why do we need to come to classes? Why do we need to be constantly reminded of the truth?
Because we're remembering and forgetting.
Because we're doing what?
Remembering and forgetting.
We're-
To remember.
Judith?
I forget
if I'm not constantly reminded.
Yeah, me too.
I need that consistency.
Bill Tolliver, 25 years ago in Fort Lauderdale, said it's the classes, that's where the real growth occurs. Because in the classes, you're stretched, you're there, it's like going to a recovery meeting half the time. You don't want to go. You got better things to do. You'd rather stay in bed, rather stay on the computer, rather do almost anything. And then when you get there, you're involved in a conversation that's going to be about truth. And you're going to walk away with new information, and you're going to remember the truth of who you are. Because most likely, if you're like the rest of us, you have done what? Yeah. So, instruction and preparation is your great need. This comes from that passage from the Course. What would you see in all you're seeing, right? What would you see? The choice is given to you. It's always given to you. You can always be what Bill Tolliver used to say in the Science of Mind classes. You can always be a lifter, or you can be a leaner. You can be that consciousness that thumbs up, great. You can be the cheerleader, the champion, or you can be the drag on the whole situation. We have a teaching that's affirmative in nature. You know that, right? We're here to see the upside and down situations. And people may sometimes think, oh, get real. But I don't want to get real like they get real. Because it's where does it take you? This is,
Emotionally down.
yeah, and the thing is, feelings follow thoughts. A lot of New Age people have it all backwards. Your feelings follow your thoughts. And so the thing is, if you're thinking positively, you will then begin to what? Feel and act in a different way. If you were in recovery, as some of you are, they talk about our stinking thinking. They will say of a person who's in recovery, that person alone is in poor company. Why is that? You're not going to be solving the problems with the same mind that created them, right? So there's an argument for getting out of your room and going to recovery meetings, coming to classes, participating in yoga, doing meditation, attempting to introduce into your consciousness what we call here new thought. Okay? Because if you're just circulating the stuff that's been there for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, how can you expect a different result if you're constantly on that wheel? And how can you be present in new moments when you've already have preconceived ideas about everything? So this teaching really, as fantastic as it is, it's a pretty big responsibility. And the work is solely yours. And the work is for you to pay attention to what it is that lives inside of you. Every single Wednesday night we go around the room, at least for a moment, and we ask a question, and that question is, what's it like being you? And it's never because we're trying to find out the circumstances of your week. Because, at least with me, we all have our lives and we're busy. The question is a question for you to reflect on and to share in that group. What has it been like the past few days being you? And what we're after there is an honest appraisal of what it has energetically felt like being in your own skin. So really what we're after, it's been great, or it's been not so good. I've been really rough on myself. I've been, whatever it is, because this is your chance to look at yourself. It's like a barometer that measures what? Barometric pressure. You're wanting to see what is it like with the most important person in your world. What has it been like being you this week? Because that's the best predictor of what your days coming up are going to be like. If you want to change next week, then change what? Today, right now, It's as simple. When we do spiritual mind treatment, Dr. Holmes said in the Science of Mind textbook, it's a process. It's the time, the art, the method of ridding negativity from your consciousness. And many people are absolutely seething with what? hate, negativity. You know, it's there, you know, and we're not here to beat anybody up or ourselves either when we have thoughts that are like that. But the thing is, do you want to change them, or do you just want to talk about changing them? New thought's new thought. I mean, everybody comes to these teachings, they say they're about transformation. Well, if you're about transformation, then be about transformation. You know, you can't fix these other people. So the best thing is to come back into yourself, into your room, into your quiet place, whatever the heck it is. Haven't you ever been out there, you're trying to push the mountain or push the river? Get them to get it? Can't you see how that is just exhausting? Okay. So back to this little reading that's so powerful, and I'll read it. It's just 2 stanzas again. You respond to what you perceive. So everything's about your choices and perceptions, right? You respond to what you perceive, and as you perceive, so shall you behave. Everything you perceive is a witness to the thought system you want to be true. What you are perceiving in others, no matter what it is, you are strengthening in yourself. Perception is a choice and never a fact. So the truth of whoever they are is their divine, whole, and complete. You know, and so what you're choosing, perception is a choice, and it's never a fact or a fact of God. But on this choice that you make, far more than you may realize depends. For on the voice you choose to hear, say spirit, and on the sights you choose to see, which is wholeness and goodness, as an example, depends entirely your whole belief in what you are. Again, classes, reading, instruction and preparation is your great need. What would you see? The choice is always, always given to you. Are you going to see loveliness and goodness no matter what the heck comes up? What would you see? The choice is always given you. But learn, and do not let your mind forget this law of seeing. You will look upon that which you feel within. If you're out of sorts or if hatred finds a place within your heart, you will most likely perceive a fearful world held cruelly in death's sharp fingers. If you feel the love of God within you, if that's what you're feeling, and the goodness and happiness, if you feel that within you, you most likely will look out upon a world of mercy and love. It's always going to be a reflection of what lives where. You have no conception whatsoever of the limits that you have placed on your perception. That's that Krishnamurti idea. You've got so many veils that have been there for so what? Long time. You have no conception of the limits you have placed on your perception, and no idea of all the loveliness that you could be experiencing right now today. I'll say that sentence again. You have no conception of the limits that you have placed on your perception in your day-to-day life. And you have no idea of all the loveliness you could be seeing. Perception can make whatever picture the mind desires to see. Remember this. In this lies either heaven or hell, as you so elect. So what does that reading say to you all? It's very powerful. So in religious science, Ernest Holmes would say, you're caused your own experience. Can anybody relate to that? What does that idea mean? So perception's important then. I'm caused to my own experience. Judith, if your perception is all about negativity, what's your life going to look like?
I feel very negative all of the time. Because if that's what I see, that's what's within.
Yes. So if your perception is all about seeing negativity, then what lives inside of you? Okay. So the law of mind, the law of cause and effect, the law of correspondence would suggest it's always about what lives inside of you. Your outer world is mirroring exactly what lives inside of you. You can't get past it. And you'll go out there and you'll try to move the mountain. I was talking to Yari about this week. You know, you can't struggle to get more, you can't push it, you can't really. You have everything you need in you, you have everything you need once you become clear in consciousness, the way becomes open to you. Someone today was talking about ego. I think it was Vanessa. Who was talking about that in one of the readings?
I think,
It doesn't matter. So when it's all ego driven, it's out there doing, I want what I want when I want it, and that doesn't usually work out for people. Okay? In our treatment process, in the first step, there's a recognition of oneness and presence and omnipresence. And then we understand in the second step that that very presence that can't be defined, it's everywhere, exists in us. And through the alignment and knowing of this presence that's universal and in us, then we speak the truth. We are not asking for things that we want, we're speaking the truth. And as we speak the truth, as we become clear of what the universe is, it's peace, power, love, joy, beauty, and wisdom, and we are one with it. Then we speak the truth, we put a declaration in mind, and we're opening up an avenue in mind for that good to be in our life. What happens is, wherever you're stuck with your perceptions, life is hard, life is bad, this is that, wherever you're stuck in that treatment process, the very area of your being stuck comes right back to you in the treatment process. That's what I say in our classes where you're striking gold, because the unbelief or the area of shadow or darkness or whatever you want to call it is revealed to you in the treatment process. So in that treatment process, you have an opportunity to then see it right there in your face. See, treatment, as Holmes said, is the time, the art, the method of ridding the negativity from your consciousness. So when do they say to do treatment? Early, late, and often, because whenever you're doing it, it's giving you an opportunity to get clear. If you don't like how your life is working or feeling, do more treatment. Because when you do more treatment, it's going to be revealed to you. And it'll be helpful because right now you might be spinning or looping. You're making it about people, places, and things. If you do treatment, you're going to come to know this is really about who? It's always about you. It's never going to be about who?
Nothing out there.
Right. In truth, there's nothing outside of you. This is a metaphysical teaching. It's always going to be about treating whose consciousness? Yours. You know, when you get really, really clear, you're going to understand that everybody's in the divine right place doing exactly what they ought to be doing. Another line from the Course years ago. I don't love the Course, but I love lots of the passages in it. One of which is, it takes great wisdom to understand that all events, circumstances, and happenings are helpful. Say that one again. It takes great wisdom to understand that all events, circumstances, and happenings are helpful. That goes back to Ernest Holmes' statement, perfect place, perfect time. It can be no other what? Way. Everything is coming in your life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Everything that's coming to you is coming to lift you to a higher place of knowing. The universe, Emerson taught us, is wooing us always. So I can be out there taking my will back and trying to do it my way and have it my way, and the universe kind of laughs, I think, because, you know, then you're going to start to get the lessons. And eventually, after you've had enough lessons, what starts to happen?
change your thinking.
You become teachable. You've heard the old adage, you know, you've got enough cosmic 2x4s, right? You're getting tired of getting whooped. You know, with this teaching, if you're living in close harmony with this spirit and you're attempting to live from a different place, you'll still get little bumps. They might be nudges. When you're completely out of whack, you'll start to experience what? Yeah, cosmic 2x4s. We used to say Mack trucks. I mean, whatever is needed. You've heard the old joke, you know, I sent you a canoe, I sent you a powerboat, I sent you a helicopter, I sent you, you know. What do you need to wake up? So, where do you begin? Okay. It's helpful for me to know, first of all, that that you're not left alone in this universe with nothing. It's helpful for me to know that the universe is here and what it does is respond to you. Okay? That's really good, because we used to have a belief as kids, many of us, that we thought when we prayed and we prayed hard, it was a matter of trying to become better and more deserving. I think most people who would be in this room understand that that's not the way it works. There's nothing you can do to become better. Your worth is established in this mind of God already. But you can work it smarter, don't you think? I mean, if you know that this is how it works, and you find yourself tripping about people, places, or things, then you're understanding you're not being very what? Huh?
Not being very wise.
Yeah, Bill Tolliver in Lauderdale years ago put a big marquee on 26th Street. He put on the marquee, "I nearly died." He said, "Don't die dumb." You've got the information that you don't have to keep on having the same old life that you've been having for the past, months and years. You can have a different experience. When Holmes said there's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you are a part, and you can use that power, in the textbook he gives very, very, very concrete suggestions on how you use it. Louise Hay would offer us this. She'll say, it's like cleaning a house or a room that's in disorder, or even your car. You can be overwhelmed in so many areas of your life, and she'll say it's just like cleaning a house. You begin where you are. You notice what you're thinking. In our classes, we talk a lot about languaging. I can listen to people in any given class, and just by what comes out of their mouth, the words that they choose to use, I have a very good indication of where they're stuck. You can read it in body language, you can definitely hear it in language. And the thing is, they're creating this and they're recreating it, and they're recreating it by virtue of their beliefs. In her book, You Can Heal Your Life, Louise would suggest that people get rid of the word should and words that are synonyms for should, because that just shows rigidity. And wherever you're using those words, it's just basically saying wrong, wrong, and more wrong. And that's not attractive. It doesn't attract you what you want in your life. Because your life is about making choices. And there's ways to communicate with people where you can guide them and lead them and say, Kristen, you could try this, or maybe you'd like this, unless you have a better idea. You can move it along without being condemning. Religious scientists are the cheerleaders of life. We're here to say, even if someone's making a small effort, we're here to do what? Say what? Yeah, good. If you're walking around saying it's not good enough, what does that speak of? Well, it's really more about you then, right? So we want to find better ways to language with ourselves and with others if we really want to be helpful. Otherwise, you're better off just stepping aside, right? Jane Claypool, who was one of my inspirations for religious science from Carlsbad, California, who passed away a couple years ago, wrote a couple very good books, Wise Women Don't Sing the Blues and another. And I didn't really need, well, yes, I did need to meet her. I was onto this for about 10, 20 years before I met her. But she said, spiritual mind treatment's the crown jewel of religious science. She said, you won't get that at Unity. You won't get it anywhere else. And I'm here to tell you, I know I'm being recorded, most religious science centers don't even teach it right anymore either. Because there's such a need to hold on to people in these centers that they'll present it in such a soft way that you miss, in the teaching of it, you're not really letting people know of the power that's available to them. Okay? Ernest Holmes says, if you really do a spiritual mind treatment, if you do one completely, truly, it becomes an entity within the mind of God. Now, go back to 15, 20, 25 years and think of Star Trek or something. What's an entity?
A being.
Yeah. So if you're doing a spiritual mind treatment, your very words become a what?
Entity.
Filled with what?
Power.
Power, life. That's not some kind of idle prayer. You have the power to create life with your very what?
Words.
Yeah, you speak it right into very existence. That's some kind of prayer. You want healing? You can have healing. You want prosperity? It's yours. You want peace? You got it. It's all available to you. There's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you're a part, and you can use it, but you really got to get behind that prayer with faith. We have 5 steps. You can do them backwards, and it doesn't really matter. But the ingredients of those steps need to be embodied in the prayer for it to have the power and the efficacy that you want it to have. Okay? It starts again with a recognition that there is omnipresence. There's not a spot where what?
God is not.
And if you got to let that idea fill your being and no, my goodness, I'm in it, around me, in me, through me, responding to me. When?
Now.
Yeah. And whatever it is that I'm pronouncing into the world is reflected back to me. So how do you use that awesome power? Because you're using it anyway. It's always saying yes to you. If you're thinking I'm a crummy person, it reflects on you're a crummy person. And then it will inspire you to know you're not a crummy person. And then you get a nudge or a 2x4, and then you'll wake up and, you could be on the cutting edge of that process. How does that happen? Well, you come to classes, and you learn how it works. And you really learn to elevate the conversation with the most important person in the world, which is who?
Yourself.
Yeah. Playing small isn't becoming you. How's that working out?
No.
Going out there and be Mother Teresa to everybody, how's that working?
Yeah.
So, the journey that I used to take to every guru, everywhere, and every process known to mankind, really, ultimately, is right where you are. It's without a distance. It's to a place that people don't dwell very much. In you, operating through you, as you. That's the supramental healing that Deepak Chopra and Amit Goswami talk about in The Quantum Doctor. That's the power you have to heal. If you have that consciousness developed, you will heal conditions. You will create health. You will be wealth. You will be a wealth magnet. You will be attractive to all because you are growing in consciousness, so you are the thing you're looking for. And it reflects. You will open up avenues in mind, and opportunities will be everywhere. Because they are everywhere. The only thing that's prohibiting them from being manifest in your day-to-day living is the smoke, the racket, the belief system, which have been placed there by yourself through your growth and evolution. And the things were there possibly to make you safe and fine, we understand how it happened, but now it's time to clear them up. Unless you are happy with doing what you're doing. You want to have more later, right? There's a song.
It's now. It's about now.
There's a lot of people are looking for more when.
But later doesn't come.
I know that. That's the point.
Always now.
The peace of God is where?
Right now, right here,
The good is where?
right here. right
Okay.
now.
My suggestion for everybody is to be mindful, to become the guardian at the gate. What does that mean?
Of my consciousness. I'm thinking.
Stop in the name of what, Jeannie?